What's up guys, Houndish here, and we're back with more Destiny 2 news and some updates from Bungie. The first today being the latest game update, where Bungie have adjusted progress on the Solstice armor grind. So we'll talk about that, plus we're going to touch on weapons leaving loot pools in a couple of weeks' time, some new exclusive rewards and glitches, and then we'll also talk about the possible end of season epilogue style quest, missing rewards, and more in the video. So, as always guys, I hope you enjoy this one, and if you do, a rating below really does help us out, but otherwise, let's get into it. The first thing we should talk about today is the most recent hotfix to the game, which dropped yesterday, and this is hotfix 4152 with a bunch of adjustments to Solstice. So Bungie say they fixed a problem where players couldn't unlock the appearance of the Solstice armor sets to transmog, and so those should be now applicable to other pieces of gear. They also fixed an issue where players couldn't re-obtain armor from Evil if armor had been dismantled after completing the step where players need to speak to her, and an issue where players weren't receiving the Seashore pack at the Eververse store, and they add that one should now be visible on the Cryptarch. But then for investment, they say progress accelerators are now in place for players completing Solstice event challenges on second and third classes. And they also partially fixed the progress accelerator missing on hand cannon challenges for Titans. And there's certainly a bit of frustration that Bungie have waited to the final week of Solstice to add that, as a lot of folks who wanted to do it have already done it. So give us your thoughts below, but finally they fixed a problem where players were unable to progress second and third character armor sets after fully upgrading their primary Guardian's armor. And so that was the hotfix that we had this week. Other technical Destiny news though, and Bungie Help said they've temporarily disabled text chat on all platforms, and this is due to a glitch where players could copy in a bunch of text and cause other players' games to crash. So they'll be fixing that one when they can, and they resolved an issue where players could earn only 1 silver ash on alternate characters in the Bonfire Bash playlist. A quick mention here related to Season 18, and I was reminded when scrolling online that Bungie had already outlined some weapons leaving loot pools at the beginning of the season. And so starting in Season 18, for the Iron Banner, Peace Bond and the Archon's Thunder Machine Gun will be taken out of the rotation. Then for Nightfalls, the Plug 1 fusion rifle and the Hothead rocket launcher are going to be removed. Fortunately, the Hothead is available in the Nightfall this week, and Plug 1 will actually come up next week in the Arms Dealer on the 9th of August. So there's still an opportunity to earn those, but finally for Trials, the Eye of Sol Sniper and the Summoner Auto Rifle are planned to be removed from the rotation. So just a heads up on those, and of course if any of the Trials weapons come up in the next couple of weeks. If you want them, it'll be the last opportunity to earn them for a little while. Speaking of Trials, Bungie have now released the community emblem in recognition of the community reaching 77,000 votes for Trials Labs. And so all players can redeem this by going to Bungie Rewards. And this is the Reckless Momentum emblem. There's also another one called Heroes Welcome to celebrate all of the community heroes in Destiny 2. And that refers to the featured players on Bungie.net. Nonetheless, both of those emblems can be claimed, and I'll link Bungie Rewards down below. A couple of other quick updates right here. Of course, a few days back, Bungie announced that they'll be releasing the Season 18 raid on August 26th, and that is a Friday. There's been some conversation in the community about Bungie moving that to a Friday instead of it being over the weekend. And Liana Rupert from Bungie did add that part of the challenge of a game like Destiny is that we have different communities. There are challenges where our job as a studio is to find the middle ground from a big part of the community wanting one thing, as well as an equally different part of the community. They also say that because they have developers in the studio between Monday and Friday, it makes it easier to fix issues as they pop up. So I'd be curious to get your thoughts about it down below. I guess it's one of those difficult things because there's always going to be a period of time that's more difficult for a certain group of people, depending on when you work, time zones and all that stuff. So again, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. However, if you want just a teeny bit of Season 18 hype, Josh Hunt on Twitter did point out that last Friday Bungie started building out the webpage for next season. And so behind the scenes, Bungie are getting ready for the reveal later this month. And as always, we'll have our eyes peeled for that one. Up next though to discuss some possible final bits of content for Season 17. As we have touched on previously, it seems likely from various indicators that there is another significant story moment to come in Season 17. And especially given the timing and us being in the last few weeks of the season, it's possible that this will be similar to some of the season epilogues or finale quests that we've seen in the past. So there is an unreleased quest at the moment called High Alert, Anomaly Detected, Helm, and only 2 steps are actually present on the quest. One of them is to go and speak with Zavala at the Helm, and the other specific objectives aren't currently visible. We know that Egregore did start to escape from the Crown of Sorrow wing in the helm, but we've also seen promotional images of Helm with even more Egregore spread throughout. And so from where the story is currently left off, at the time that this happened 1 week it suddenly progressed to its current state, but it hasn't since spread. So when we look at the Guardian in the helm from the promo image, it's obvious that the spores have spread almost everywhere surrounding the war table and consoles, which from a story perspective is going to be a bit of a disaster. And once that does happen, who knows what kind of consequences there could be for Helm itself. It'll be really wild if this somehow meant that Helm had to be abandoned, although a cleanup operation also seems likely. But there's a little more, and earlier in the season we got an exotic ship, as well as an exotic ghost shell linked with triumphs for the season. However, there is also a matching sparrow called Treyamash. This one hasn't been released to players, but it lists Season of the Haunted as the reward source, the same as the other two cosmetics. Plus the name Treyamash also translates to Funeral March, and perhaps that name is linked to the events of the so-called epilogue. It doesn't necessarily refer to a character death, although that is possible, but it could simply reference the end of the season and the passing of any events that we may see during that possible quest. Another interesting part about the Sparrow is that it will actually drop from the Crown of Sorrow, so we can see in the Crown's inventory in the API that it's a reward that will be presented. So as far as we can tell, all of this seems to be connected, and it looks pretty likely that an end of season thing is going to happen. As always though, we won't know for certain until it happens, and we don't have any officially released info from Bungie. So we'll have to wait and see, and for now give us any thoughts or predictions that you have about a possible end of season thing, and how that could look. The final couple of things I wanted to mention, but players have been discussing the Eververse inventory for next week, and as we know, today in Destiny.com have a breakdown of the scheduled inventory, and for next week, the 9th of August, the inventory still shows a bunch of items related to Solstice, but the Solstice event itself will have ended. That inventory does include the Witherhoard ornament for Bright Dust. However, since the event won't be running, players are wondering whether that inventory is likely to be correct. And Liana Rupert from Bungie said the team is investigating a possible bug with this, and will have more information soon. So when it comes to the inventory for next week, we'll simply have to wait and see what we get. Of course, it is possible that Bungie could still drop some Solstice items the week after the event ends, but unfortunately for any folks who wanted to grab those items for Bright Dust, it's also fairly possible that the inventory will be changed by the time it drops in the game next week. And so we'll see if Bungie give us any extra info about it. But since I've mentioned those items in other Eververse videos, I just thought it was worth a heads up. For today though guys, that's everything we have to break down in the video, so as always I really hope you've enjoyed this one and found it interesting. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section, and if you've enjoyed the video, a rating below really does help us out. Plus with the new season coming up later this month, we're going to have a lot more stuff to cover, so if you want to stay up to date with everything related to the game, be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted. But otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.